Join us today on Beyond the Lair, where we have a great conversation with Michelle Laviolette, Director of Indigenous Banking Strategy at Vancity. Michelle discusses the importance of relationship building, teamwork, and promoting programs supporting financial literacy, entrepreneurism, and affordable housing, and their new exciting program, the Wealth Mindset Program. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Lair. My name is Gina Jackson Montgomery.
And I'm Dean Montgomery.
And we are so thrilled today. We have Michelle Laviolette, Director of Indigenous Banking at Vancity. Welcome to the program, Michelle.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you today.
We are so thrilled. Vancity has been a huge proponent and supporter of entrepreneur business for decades. And speaking of decades, when I asked you how long you've worked at Vancity, you said it's over 20 years and you've worked in all different areas of Vancity. And I think it's just an amazing story of how somebody can start from a junior position and be the leader of Indigenous advancement and relations right now. And maybe you can tell our audience a little bit about your background, because I think it's just so interesting.
Oh, thank you. I'd be happy to do that. Yes, I'm a local gal who graduated from SFU and heard Vancity was a great place to work. And when I looked it up in the library, because there wasn't any internet back then. Now I'm really dating myself.
Somebody get a dictionary.
I know. What's in the library? Microfiches. I was like, what is this credit union concept? I mean, I'd heard about co-ops and cooperative businesses, but I didn't realize how effective a cooperative business could be, and that a credit union was a financial institution that was a cooperative business, meaning it was owned by the members it serves, steeped in local community, and all about creating impact in community. So I marched my way down to the branch at the bottom of the SFU hill and talked my way into a teller position. And that was the late 90s. And I have had a phenomenal career at Vancity. I've been in sales, business development management positions, relationship building positions. I've been in branch management, and I think Vancity has been there just as much for me as I've had a career at Vancity. It supported me through so many crazy life events, because nobody ever predicts how their lives are going to go. And I ended up being the manager of the Tawasin branch for many years. And while I was there, I was able to also talk my way into opening and supporting a remote community branch in Alert Bay. So I was, started my journey of working with the Tawasin First Nation a lot, and then through the Alert Bay branch, working with the Namgis First Nation. And it's just become such a passion project. So after COVID, when Vancity was really looking to consolidate our Indigenous banking strategy and looking how to, we've followed and supported reconciliation for so long, but we were really looking to become targeted and efficient and super impactful. This position came up to be the Director of Indigenous Banking, and wow, that's my dream job, and here I am.
Amazing. Can you tell the audience the difference between a credit union and a conventional bank?
Absolutely. Well, conventional banks, big banks, they are owned by their shareholders. You can go out and buy stock in any of the big five banks, and their staff, their CEO and their staff, they are accountable to stock performance. And performance is everything, because it's really all about how much is the company worth, because their board is looking for performance in terms of financial performance primarily. Okay, so they're owned through their stocks. A credit union is owned by their members. And credit unions are generally locally based. For example, most credit unions are only provincially based, so that they cannot operate outside of their provincial boundaries. And a credit union, when you come to Vancity, we will ask you to buy a $5 share. And that share will sit in your account. You'll see it and you'll earn dividends on your share. But that share makes you an owner and it allows you to vote for the board of directors who will represent you as a member for your values and the things that are important to you. And that board of directors, they are the ones who direct how we do our business. So yes, financial performance is important, but equally important is the vision and the values of the board who represent the members. And that directs us on our impact journey and what we look to achieve just in our community.
Yeah. And I think, first off, we'll say that we love Vancity for a lot of different reasons.
Yay.
We bank their business, we personally. So, and I think what you're saying is it really does have that local community feeling and that, you're doing it. We all want to be local, right? And it's very Indigenous of us to want to be local and to give back locally. So I think that's excellent. So I'd love to hear some of the programs that you're working on right now. What are your key initiatives that you're working on?
Excellent. Thank you for that. Well, you know what? When we went out to community in my first year in this role, we heard 3 themes over and over and over again. And those have become our focus on our strategy. And first of all, it is financial health and wellness, and that includes financial literacy. Second, more and better housing, including climate-ready housing, because we've had some massive climate events. And then thirdly, support for entrepreneurs, because as we all know, Indigenous entrepreneurs are the fastest growing set of entrepreneurs in Canada. And there are so many youth entrepreneurs coming up in the Indigenous space as well. So those are our 3 focus areas. So in each of those areas, we've been building out some programs. So for financial wellness and financial literacy, we've developed a literacy program called the Wealth Mindset. And the reason we developed it is because we heard that there was a gap. There wasn't a culturally sensitive financial literacy program out there. And of course, everybody offers financial literacy, how to do your banking, how to do credit, how to pay your bills. But it can just be words on a page sometimes. If it doesn't relate to the person and who they are and where they're coming from, it can be difficult. So with the support of Indigenous elders, we developed a program that is delivered by Indigenous to Indigenous participants with an elder present. So that's one of those great things that we're doing.
Wow. This is not new for Vancity in respect of creating programs that are going to benefit entrepreneurs or youth or financial literacy. I know when I used to work for the Squamish Nation, this is back 15 years ago, almost 18 years ago now, Vancity was a huge proponent of supporting any of our Indigenous programs, including the Aboriginal Best program that we had offered for our membership. Also a microloan program, a peer support program. And I know that just the one thing that I really love about Vancity in particular is they really listen to the entrepreneurs and the needs of the community. And I know that the micro program you were talking about is getting re-evaluated right now. And as evolution would go, growing. Can you explain a little bit about that? Because I know it's going to be repackaged and redone. And
absolutely. We came out with a micro lending program years ago because we heard that especially some of our Indigenous entrepreneurs were just looking for, a little bit of money to get going on something new. I remember working in Tawasin and, we had a fabulous experience with an entrepreneur who was making planter boxes. And then, of course, all the Vancity branches bought them too because we wanted to support her. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of money to get going. And that microloan really fit that niche. And as businesses grow and go through their cycle of growth, we've had different lending programs as well to fit different needs as businesses grow. But for what we're looking at now is how do we tweak our micro lending program for today? Like what is going to make it more effective today with today's Indigenous entrepreneurs. So we are looking to create a specific lending program for Indigenous entrepreneurs that we're going to take feedback from the community, and we're going to see exactly what those trigger points are or what the gaps are, so that we can have a product that makes sense to the actual people who need it.
And I think it's really important because Vancity has always been so progressive in the fact that knowing that one of the barriers for Indigenous entrepreneurs are access to capital. And what you're saying, sometimes people need $500 and sometimes people need $5,000 and sometimes we need $500,000. But that $500 is really, for entrepreneurs, is really the lifeblood of what we call creating economies within community. And we do so many talks. I do so many talks about entrepreneurism, past, present, and future, and where we're going, and that Indigenous entrepreneurs are the original entrepreneurs. We're the ones that traded with each other. We're the ones that went from village to village, from canoe or geographically wherever you are. And then when the settlers came, European settlers, we were the ones that traded with them so that they didn't freeze. So we had furs for them, and we had pemmican, and we had foods and all sorts of sources. And that Indigenous entrepreneurism, as you mentioned, is growing at a rapid rate. It's actually growing at 9 times the rate of any other entrepreneurial demographic in Canada. Can you maybe, in your expertise of what you've seen in the banking industry, maybe tell us why you think that is happening? Is it because of programs and access to capital that Vancity and other trailblazing programs are allowing, or in your financial world, what do you think?
Oh, there are so many reasons I think that contribute to that. I think, Indigenous population is growing at a faster rate than the rest of Canada. And we have more youth in Indigenous populations than in other segments of populations in Canada as well. And I think when these young people are looking at what they want to do, now we have this digital age, which allows them to jump into the economy in different ways. There's a connection to culture. And just like you said, Gina, there's a lot of connection now and recognition that Indigenous people have such a rich history with trade, with commerce, through many different industries. So I think it's easier now to be an entrepreneur than ever. I think there's more tools, there's more technology, there's more of an acceptance to have youth entrepreneurs. I think socially, you almost expect some of the up and comers to be young these days. So it's a really appealing option for Indigenous youth to get into, for sure. And let's face it, a lot of people have traditional aptitudes, or they create traditional products that they can get to market a lot easier right now. And here in BC, there's such an appetite for Indigenous products and Indigenous services.
And I do. I think it's the natural progression as well. I mean, when we're all roughly the same age, 25 years ago, we were working in industry trying to change Indigenous communities, but Indigenous inclusion wasn't even a phrase at that point. It wasn't a term, right? So
not at all.
So it has been, I mean, the past 5 years, can you believe where we are and what Indigenous people are doing, right? It's amazing. And so, when you start having, these different financial tools, right, that you're doing it, it's amazing. So I want to go back one question. You were talking about the elders before.
Yes.
And can you explain a little bit more how your elders are getting involved in the finance world and the teaching and financial literacy?
Absolutely. With this wealth mindset program, we start with a circle module. And, a circle can be very sacred. And the intent is to go around and to create some kind of baseline connection to each participant's concept of value, because everybody comes from such a different background and it can be very complicated. And you all know that our relationship with money can be very emotional. People feel fear when they deal with money. They can feel shame. They can feel that they don't have any options, that they will be judged. And it's really important to start out by looking at people's concepts of wealth and value and money, because some people feel like money is evil and some people feel like it's a tool. So by starting off in a circle and having our elders and our Indigenous facilitators ask people about their earliest memories of money and what it means to them, and then segue into history and how residential schools and generational trauma that has been passed down from then has led to maybe a lack of understanding or consistency or knowledge or financial literacy. Do you know what our number one feedback is from the wealth mindset? I mean, I thought it would be like, great, now I can do X, Y, or Z. The number one feedback we get is, I didn't know it wasn't my fault. I didn't know my own history, that my history put me here and is a big part of why I'm here today. And now I feel like I can do something about it. That's so powerful.
So interesting.
It just gives me the shivers.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know my own history. I didn't know it wasn't my fault. And when you break it down to that level and you talk about, like you were saying, the original entrepreneurs, did you know? And here's what's happened. And what's your personal experience? Once that circle is completed, now those presentations on how to best use your checking account and credit bureaus and why to pay your bills on time and how to qualify for lending, they're empowering now. They're more than just words on a page, because now it's a tool that you really believe in, that you can activate for yourself.
But it's an amazing that it is cultural. It's so cultural. I mean, Gina and I have had this conversation where we travel and we'll go surfing and things like that. And, I've always found that Australians, personally, who are my friends, love to talk about money, but it's in a way that it's emotional, but happy. They get tears of joy, right, from their success, right? And I find some of my English friends, not so much, right? So, but when you start breaking it down to, the Indigenous cultural aspect in the community, that's so, so interesting.
Well, and I think the opportunity as well, when we have, it is emotional when it comes around money, because Indigenous people, and this is why I wanted to go, why I'm so passionate about entrepreneurism, is because in my journey, I've been an entrepreneur. So is Dean. We've helped entrepreneurs. I've helped over 800 entrepreneurs, heard their stories and their whys. And Dean, we always talk about Chief Gibby Jacob from the Squamish Nation, and who was my co-MC for the BC Achievement Awards. And I said it to the audience because we found this really profound, is that he was vetting a proponent and who was a friend of ours. And it was a really nice introduction. And our friend Brad Mason from a company called Surfco said, okay, well, Chief Gibby, now that, we've met, let me tell you what I do. And he said, before you tell me what you do, tell me why you do it. And it brought up this extreme emotion in him. And when I talked to entrepreneurs and I asked them that same question, including the 18 in season 1, including the 18 of season 2, everyone started to cry, because it's so meaningful when you sit back and you realize why you're doing what you do. And it all comes down to, with these entrepreneurs, everyone that I've met, it's trying to provide a solution for a problem that exists in their community on that grassroots level, regional, national, or global level. I want to create an arthritis out of Devil Club medicine because all my aunties from weaving baskets have this. Or I want to create a program where Indigenous youth can learn their language and revitalization or what have you. And I think when you really hear the stories, then you connect more. And with this circle of the mindset that you're talking about, I think it's just such a brilliant and trailblazing, forward-thinking way of a financial institution to do business or start business.
Well, thank you. And that's why That's why the elders called it the wealth mindset, because it's time to get out of a poverty mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because when you were talking about what's your first relationship with money, the first thing that I thought about, particularly from my childhood, is we never had any ever, right? And I think of Dean's grandmother my grandparents, of course, too, grew up in the Depression. There was no money, right? And the older people hold on to it. Now that we have it, and I've seen this with so many Indigenous people, and I'm sure I'm not talking just Indigenous people, but most people that are our age, in our, I would like to say 30s, but anyway, in the 50s, we've struggled when we were young because our parents did the best that they could with what they had. So it's important for us to provide an opportunity for our children. But what do we do with our own children? We give them everything that they want so that they didn't have to suffer the way that we do. And then we shake them going, why aren't you more responsible? And why aren't you more grateful? And why is your relationship with money so laissez-faire? Because we've worked so hard to do it. And I think, so not speaking on an Indigenous perspective, Vancity also supports local community businesses incredibly, because I've gone in and I've seen your boards with and your showcases with different products from local businesses. Maybe we can talk about that as well.
Well, for sure. Thank you. Right. Our businesses are our owners too. So we really do want to showcase our members and the business that they do in branch, if we can, through different community partnerships as well. It's all about pulling together as community. Healthy communities. What's a healthy community, right? A healthy community is about having people who are healthy and happy and prosperous in a sustainable environment. And that includes businesses that are operating locally and well, and that money just circulates through a community. And everybody gets the benefit. And that's our vision for community, having a sustainable environment, and our climate change is minimized as much as we can, and people have access to capital and jobs, and they can save and invest and plan for those big life events. Banking's a part of all of that. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned earlier, there's fear that comes with banking. People are emotional. They see financial institutions as institutions. And that can be a really big barrier. As Vancity, we'd really hope that people see us as more than that. But let's face it, Indigenous people especially, who've had rough interactions with institutions and who are scared of institutions, it can be a barrier just even to walk into a branch. Actually, we had a member, an Indigenous member, contact us through our Indigenous partnership email saying, I have a business. I've come into some money. I am terrified to walk into a branch to talk to somebody, because what if they don't understand what this means to me? But I'm more terrified to lose my money. Do you have an Indigenous person who can help me? So, of course, we connected them with somebody who could make them feel safe and be able to explore everything that we offer to all of our members, but feel some safety in doing that.
Yeah, and you just don't feel like a number.
Yeah.
Right? You don't feel like an account, right? That's great. Yeah, I had do you know like with Vancity, give us an idea of like how do you measure, like SMEs or like a small medium enterprise, or small or large, and what is your real wheelhouse at Vancity for what size of business? Or
well, glad you asked that question, because this is something that we're looking at as we move forward. We're actually looking at at refreshing our business vision for ourselves, and I don't know, we're calling it Vancity 2.0. We're doing a good refresh internally and looking at what we're doing strategically and where we want to go and what we want to build. And of course, the first thing you do is you look at the members you serve and where are their gaps. And in terms of like metrics, we look at, a financial institution has to balance a lot of things. You can lend a certain percentage of the deposits that you have, and you're looking to balance your income amounts and your liquidity and your capital ratios and your efficiency ratios. There's all sorts of numbers and equations that go into that. Where our sweet spot is in business lending is because of our community connection and our ability to listen to the stories. And let's face it, we don't have the deep pockets like the big five banks able to lend out, hundreds of millions of dollars on just one project. We're definitely in the small to medium sized business category. And, lending, we can lend higher amounts into the millions of dollars, but we're seeing the impact is in the smaller dollar values. And so that's what we're really interested in. And startups, growing businesses, how do we grow those businesses to those next levels to make them prosper?
Yeah, and we take comfort in that. That's why we like it. And
good. Well,
that's the question, right?
We'll take all the feedback we can from you as you grow, because you're growing like crazy.
We are. And I just wanted to ask about corporate culture, because I know that it's really important when you walk into a bank and you see somebody that, that has Michelle and the name tag. But not only that, you have a little bit about the person. And I know at the branch that we go to, there's a little chalkboard or there's a little whiteboard that has something about that individual that you wouldn't know about, favorite color, favorite restaurant or whatever. And I know it's this rotating change. And I've got to know the tellers really well. And it's a great conversation point, because when you go into a bank, most people and the young people today and people that are busy in business do a lot of electronic fund transactions, et cetera. But you do get the people that go in and actually socialize, and the corporate culture and the training and just the relationship building at Vancity is so much more than any other institution that I've ever seen. Yeah. So maybe can you talk about what is that training? Is it something that comes organically? What is it that's that tipping point that makes it so different?
Well, the first thing is, when we're hiring, our first questions are about that person's values. So we're a bunch of passionate, values-aligned people. And yes, we're working in banking and doing whatever job we are doing in Vancity, but I think it really all comes down to just pride in the fact that we're a values-based organization working with people in a business that's forwarding progression and impact in areas that we care about. And that happens right from the financial service representative teller level at a branch all the way through the organization, no matter what the job is. So I think that really bonds us. And, I've been at Vancity for 20 plus, I don't know how many years, a lot of years, probably pushing 30. Why would I leave? Vancity has been so good to me as a person, recognizing me as a person, but I'm helping change. I'm helping change happen and communities thrive and prosper in ways that aren't traditional banking ways. Mm-hmm. Vancity leads a lot of really important climate change work, financial health and inclusion as well. And it trickles down. So at the branch level, as a member, you see it as people who are just proud to work there and they want to share that Vancity is a great place.
Yep.
And they want to get to know you because it's about relationships, right?
100%. When we go in there, Gina goes in every time the teller's there. They all have fantastic nails. like Gina. So
We have lots
they go
to
there.
talk
It's
about.
like a nail club while they're
Yeah,
getting
we have to talk about our nails, and then the tellers come up, and even if they're not my teller, come up and shows their nails. So
Of course.
it's very pride oriented nail wise there.
Well, I'm glad we can support you with that.
I wanted to talk about sponsorships because if anybody goes to any kind of events, any kind of conferences, any kind of our initiatives, for example, dollars are restricted for a lot of organizations, and they continue to be restricted due to recession and just how the flow goes with finances in every kind of company. But Vancity has been incredibly supportive. You've supported the Bears Lair for season 1 and season 2 as a lead sponsor and also a guest judge on the programming. You've also supported one of our youth camps out in the Stolo area. One of 17 communities that participated, that were welcome to participate in that. And we have up to 30 youth that attend that. We've seen you, my goodness, Indigenomics, all sorts of different organized, sponsored events. Can you talk about, number one, why, and number two, how you choose those types of initiatives?
Why? It's part of our DNA. It's how you make change. It's by partnering and supporting the people who are making change in community. We are not going to be the experts we want to support change. We are a financial institution. We're going to stick to banking, and supporting people like yourselves who are running around making a difference. That is the best and most efficient way to make change in any community, is through supporting organizations and partners who are doing great things in the areas that are important to us, and by us, I mean our members, right? So, that is the why. The how is our members and our board decided years ago that we were going to put 30% of our profits back to our members and our communities. And we call this shared success. So, many credit unions do that, but I'm pretty confident when I say we're probably the only one going to the 30% mark. And we definitely pay dividends back to our members on their shares and some of the business that they do with us. But it leaves us a pool of money to strategically invest. It's an investment. It's not just a sponsorship. It's an investment in change. So reconciliation is a core value. And as I told you earlier, in terms of Indigenous banking, one of our focus areas is entrepreneurs. And so that allows us to easily identify who's making big change, or even who has a great idea that might turn into big change. Because at Vancity, I think we really see ourselves as supporting incubators. There's a lot of great new ideas out there that just need a little help and some flexible help. So if we can help them early to gain some momentum so that other organizations will come on and support, then, as soon as we lend the Vancity name behind a growing initiative, that gives some support, some funding, some legitimacy, some overall publicity as well. And that can snowball for an organization as they go out and make some change.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vancity is such a great name, and it's really what it is this brand association to a credible and authentic organization that vets their investments quite in high regard. So I love the fact, because I know that with the Bears Lair, when we first started, when Vancity signed on, it kind of allowed this domino effect of credibility.
It snowballed. Yep.
It snowballed into, okay, normally when you would have to put something in front of a board of directors, but then you take a look at the list of credible, first and foremost, Vancity, of course, let people that see out of the box and know that entrepreneurism is one of your values, and it just added so much value to that. So thank you so much for believing in us, and it has led to other entrepreneurs being interested. And I think Dean asked this question to you before, but I just really want to know, in respect of Vancity, when you're doing a strategic plan for the future, what is your target market? Like, what would you say that you're really focusing on? Come and do business with us. Is it entrepreneurs? Is it older elders that are investing their retirement money? Is it youth that are coming up that want to deal with more of a community-focused social impact business? What exactly is it?
I'm going to give you the same answer as when I talked to you about our staff. First and foremost, if you believe in the similar vision and values and you're looking for community impact, we're going to be the financial institution for you. Number one, we find that our members, be them retail members who are just looking to do their own banking, or businesses or startups or elders or any of that, the number one differentiator for us is, are they community-minded, values-minded, have similar beliefs in how we should support climate, and how we should invest in community? That would be our first and foremost target market. Yeah. But really, as we move through life cycles of our members come from every walk of life. And we're there to support them through their life cycles. You know, we have our children have accounts. They have free banking until they're 25 years old. Then we have, entrepreneurs that we support, and we hope them, their businesses are successful so that personally they're successful as well. And we want to give them that advice to have good lives and find the value that means to them. So maybe it's not a easy answer. We're into, small to medium businesses of XYZ size. I think we're there for people who are looking for advice to grow their own personal situation, their entrepreneur or business situation, and to grow it up and through to wherever it is that they want to go. The reality is we don't care where you start. And we want people to know we're not judgmental. We're just here to give advice. So wherever you are starting from is fine. We're just there to help you get wherever you want to go. And, I know that sounds kind of romantic or, kind of aspirational but that's truly at the heart of it. We've got great people who just want to help you. Come in. Don't be scared. We're just there to help wherever you start from. So yes, are we going to be focusing on small and medium-sized businesses? Absolutely. Why? Because there's going to be a lot more of them moving forward in British Columbia and in Canada. Absolutely. And we really see that as a niche area for us moving forward. But let's face it, everybody needs advice in their life for banking.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about the fantastic employees. How many are there at Vancity, and how many branches are there?
Oh, goodness. Okay. So I'm going to say we're about 2,100 employees. Okay. Forgive me if I'm not exact. 2,100. We have some subsidiary branches. So I'm going to say we're over 55 branches and about 2,100 employees.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I am. I just, because we've shuffled a few of them around lately. I don't know if I have the exact number.
Yeah.
But in terms of funds under administration, we are the largest credit union in Canada.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you find that, and we were talking to George Chikra before you from the Lions, and he was talking about imitation and is the best
best form of compliment.
For compliment.
Yes.
Do you find that Vancity's trailblazing ideas about community and involvement and working with Indigenous communities has been emulated and borrowed or implemented into other credit unions where they have realized that that is something that they want to be or do?
Well, I think credit unions as sister cooperatives, I think we first and foremost look at them in a cooperative light, as potential partners in a similar space that with a similar model. Obviously, there's always going to be a sense of a little bit of friendly competition, but we're really looking to support other credit unions and other cooperatives around us, because that means the more people who are involved in credit unions and cooperatives, the better as far as we see. Now, I really can't, I don't know. I can't speak to their initiatives in terms of Indigenous banking and their programs, but I can say that as cooperatives and credit unions generally have areas of focus specific, in terms of investing into community. And there are different pockets of that. And I will say that I've heard them say, I've heard different credit unions locally be very proud of the fact that they contribute 10 or 15% of their profits. And so I just smile and say Vancity contributes 30.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's incredible. If one of our listeners, if any of our listeners or viewers are interested in, number one, finding out more about the programs, like for the Wealth Mindset program, to be a part of it and to learn more about financial literacy and our relationship with money, how would they contact, who would they speak to?
You can just go to vancity.com. On our search bar, type in Wealth Mindset, and that will lead you to a page that talks about Wealth Mindset. Also, it will lead you to our Indigenous Partnerships email address. And so you can always contact us through the Indigenous Partnerships email address as well.
Perfect. And if somebody is interested in starting a career with Vancity, whether it be a financial teller or whether it be just graduating out of school and working for an organization that has such great corporate culture, who would they contact? Would they go to the website again? And is there somebody, should they go into a branch? I know we don't do this anymore. And it's interesting because we have a niece, and she's been going in personally to give her resume to people. And I don't even remember the last time people did that. But does that make a difference? Because putting something in an impersonal portal, as much as that is sifting through information, I still believe that relationship building is everything, and speaking to somebody one-on-one and maybe give some advice to some youth out there.
As a longtime branch manager, it was those individuals who walked in with a resume in their hand, who shook my hand and had a conversation and told me a little bit about themselves. You better believe those were the ones who got interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that's going above and beyond. And that's what we want at Vancity. Somebody who's willing to put themselves out there and take the time to walk in and meet a branch team and say, hey, I'd be interested in working here. Can you tell me more about it? That's exactly the kind of person that we want talking to our members. So that's a great piece of advice there.
Good. Anything else you'd like to talk to our viewers about, or last words of either advice or opportunity, or what's coming up next in the next year that we're going to see with Vancity that's exciting?
Well, there are a lot of wheels turning at Vancity right now, and a lot of products and programs that we're reviewing. I feel like we're re-looking at our business, and we're going to be sharper than ever. That is the goal, to be sharper than ever. So I just encourage listeners, be them entrepreneurs, people looking for just some general advice or even a second opinion. Come on into a branch. We are friendly. We are personable. We're here just to give advice. We're here to help. We do not judge. We're just here to help. So if I'm going to leave with any piece of advice whatsoever, it's just give us a shot.
Oh, I love
Michelle,
it. No.
your personality emulates exactly what the core values are and what Vancity shows, and you really represent this company so well.
Mhm.
And thank you so much for your sparkle and energy today. You're just a wonderful person.
Yes.
It's hard to sparkle around you. You're pretty sparkly.
Well,
But thank you so much. And our partnership with you has just been, we're very, very proud. We're very proud to support you. We're very proud of the youth camps. We're very proud of Bears Lair. And many of our members we know are associated with you as well. So,
and we're very grateful. So thank you so much. Yeah.
thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Lair. Please follow us, download this episode, and follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok.